everyone, this episode is sponsored by Fight Energy. Fight is your all-in-one go-to health drink. Fight is not only just an energy booster, it is a mood booster as well. So with your daily dose of vitamins, nootropics, 0 calories, it is your all-in-one health drink. I drink Fight every day. My clients drink it. Someone you probably know drinks it. And you guys, what I'm offering for as we get into 2025, we're doing a discount for 25% off your first order if you type in LYB. Okay, so we'll know that you came from the podcast, and that way we can make sure you get some Fight Energy and some other little goodies thrown in there too. So if you get a chance, we would love to know which team you are. Are you team strawberry? Or are you team blueberry? Yeah. Hey everyone, welcome to the LYB podcast. On today's episode, we have such a special guest, my man, Mr. Matt McQuiston. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. I haven't had you over since my birthday, so it's been a few months.
Yeah, we watched what was it, Scream in
the
backyard?
Yeah, it was so fun. I love that. That made my whole day. I just, I love movies, so it's like that was perfect. And having you guys come meant the world. Because I mean, I don't think you had been over here since. I don't know if you had seen any of my new stuff.
Nope.
So we got to see the LYB, got to show you the backyard, all the stuff, and the renovations and everything. And so it meant a lot. And you being a homeowner and stuff, we'll get into that too, kind of just like how that's been and everything. But tell everybody who doesn't know you, because I feel like I've mentioned you on the podcast so many times, and I'm like, literally the one person in Nashville that believed in me, the best trainer I've ever had. I mean, I've always, talked about you, but I'm so excited to be able to put a face with the name. So
sure.
Yeah.
Well, my name's Matt McQuiston.
Yeah.
I've been in Nashville for 9 years, I think. Personal trainer. I work with Klug Fitness.
Yeah.
We're a mobile training company. I'm also a professional strongman, husband. Yeah, that's about it.
I love it. No, that's amazing. So he says all this so just very humbly when he says professional strongman. Like when we first were starting out, I think we met, it was 2018.
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think that was right. And I actually was at the Nashville Fit Games and I competed in that. And literally, guys, I didn't know Matt. I knew Klug, right? And so I had known of Kevin, but I didn't really know Matt. And what had happened was I was at that competition. I ended up getting second. And I remember you were there cheering on Ashley Bassett. Mm-hmm. And you were it was just somebody in the crowd, you being just cheering for her. And I knew that I was just like, man, I wish I would have had that. And because I just went into the competition very alone and kind of didn't tell anybody I was doing it and didn't invite clients or anything like that. And yeah, when I saw that, it was literally, I think a week later, and I reached out to you and I was just like, hey, what's up? Would you because I knew that I needed, as I just started my business, that I needed the accountability, needed someone to be there for me, just like I am for my clients. And you were like, yeah, let's meet at Whole Foods. Let's talk about it and see, what we got going on.
Yeah, I forgot about that with the Nashville Fit Games. I was training Ashley for that specifically. Mm-hmm. And I've always loved training people that have specific goals. They have events or something that they really are focused in on. Mm-hmm. And so training her for that, it was so much fun than going to watch her. And then I remember meeting you. I don't know if I met you there, but I remember watching you. And then when you hit me up a week later, I was really surprised because you did so well and everything. I was like, oh, this girl's already successful personal trainer. She doesn't need my coaching, but when you reached out, I was so happy. And then getting to work with you has just been, it's been quite the experience, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Oh my gosh. We're going to elaborate a little bit on that as we tell them. Cause you guys, I think it was the very first session when we started training, I was like, yeah, I want to be more agile. Cause I got second place in the Nashville Fit Games. And I think I had, I just felt like, okay, if I could do some drills or something like that. And you put out a football, a ladder, drill.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Ladder drills.
And I went into this and within the first 2 steps, I get a calf cramp. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. We just need to redirect. Can we do something else? And I remember you being like, here's some weights. Let's do some farmer carries. After obviously I chilled out with my calf and you kept me had me keep going up. And you were just like, okay, was that hard? I was like, not really. And then we did some more and you're like, you remember that? Kind of vaguely?
I faintly remember it. How long did it take of us working together? Do you remember when we first started, did you have anything specific that you were wanting to do?
No, it literally was just I wanted to be most more athletic in general.
Okay.
Like, I mean, so I was like, I want to run faster because I've been doing half marathons and stuff like that. And so I was like, I want to run faster, but I also want to be able to lift more and feel successful with like my back injury and stuff. And I just remember you being like, yeah, we can do that. And we started on that freaking ladder first. So for anybody listening, if you've ever had an embarrassing moment in the gym or with a trainer or whatever, like we've all been there. Like I remember being like, okay, well, we're not going to do that. So can we do something else? And so, yeah, and you saw how I was lifting. And I mean, I think it was like not even a month. And you were just like, we were at Whitfield, in the park. And you asked me, or you said something like, what was it? Or you said, have you ever thought about like strongman?
Yeah. Cause I think I had just done my first one.
Yeah.
Or maybe first or second. And, I was kind of telling you about it. I was like, I think you'd be really good at this. Like, there are girls there that you're way stronger than. And I think I said, have you ever thought about competing in powerlifting or strongman or something like that showcases your strength and your athleticism and not just, Nashville Fit Games is a lot of running and a lot of cardio.
Yeah.
And I know you'd been a successful dancer, but I said, have you ever considered showcasing your strength?
Right.
And if I remember right, I think you were kind of taken back by it. You're like, I have never thought of that.
No, I literally was. Like, I remember the first thing that came to my mind, if I'm being honest, was, is there like a weight thing? Like, am I too big or am I too whatever for this, And I had no idea about it. And you were like, no, I mean, there's like weight classes, but like, we'll find a weight class for you. And, you're so cool about it. And so that's when you had given me Blake's number to talk to him about it. So me and him talked for like 2 hours on the phone. And he was like, yeah, I'm going to Kentucky in like a couple weeks. If you'd want to go. And I'm like, okay, Matt, I'm not going with this strange guy that when I looked him up was like bearded and like bigger dude. Not to be whatever, but I was just like, I'm not riding up with him to Kentucky to go do some strongman thing, right? And so I said, I remember saying to you, if you'll go, I'll do it. And we ended up going. Do you remember that?
Did I do it
Yes.
with you?
Yeah, because we both won.
Okay, so that was my second show.
Yeah, right, yeah. Because he wins so much. So,
so that was my second show ever. So I had done my first show, just started working with you, and then I said, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? And then we did. Your first show was my second show. So we basically started at the same time.
Yeah, which was so special. And it was so cool because I felt like, yes, like he's, this trainer and he's, doing so well and everything like that in this sport. But it felt so cool to like have somebody to share something with, just because I felt with Dandy Fitness, I was kind of on that lone path of you know what I mean? For so long. And I kind of, and you and me, I confided in you a lot about, man, I'm just feeling bogged down about it or, just all these things, especially the first couple of years. And what's so interesting is after we won that competition, I was like, oh my gosh, I was ecstatic. And
you're like, this is my new thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
And it literally, it took you, accepting me for whatever size I was, whatever goal I had, whatever, everything like that. And that is why you are one of the best trainers that, I've ever personally worked with, but ever seen in Nashville. And so it meant so much that it was just this support constantly. And so I love that. And then I remember being like, we were sitting out there under the bridge of Nashville. It's also where we trained. And you said, you're going to nationals. And I'm over here like, man, I want to go to nationals. And so between that time of the first competition and nationals, there's one other competition in West Virginia. So me and Blake and his ex went up there, and we and I ended up crushing it, won, and so got to go to nationals. And I was so excited. I'm like, oh, we're all together, And it was a memory that I'll never forget,
Yeah. One thing that I do with all my clients, or at least I try to do, is find like, what are they good at? Like, what's something, even if they don't know it yet, what's something that I see where they could really excel?
Yeah.
And I prefer to focus on those things rather than we need to lose weight or, oh, you're not very flexible. Let's try and get you flexible. Like, let's find what you're good at and double down on that and really push, and let's see how strong we can get, how fast we can get, whatever it might be. And like, what are their strengths, and let's focus, and that it makes it more enjoyable for you. It gives you something to work on, like not just your deficiencies, but like how good can I get at this specific thing. And so for you, right away when we first started working out, I knew you were strong and athletic. And strongman isn't, I know it sounds like strong man, it's just about strength.
Right.
It's much more about athleticism than people realize.
100%.
And I knew that you had that kind of athleticism and that kind of strength where you could be really good. You know, the back thing was kind of an unfortunate, but shoot, in the short time that you competed, you kicked a lot of. Can we swear?
Yeah, you can swear.
You kicked some ass.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. Oh my gosh. No, that was it was something I will cherish forever, and it was amazing. And that's where I want to talk about, because we haven't been able to catch up, because you've done a lot, I feel like, of competitions here recently, you know, like over the past couple of years. And the word that I would put to describe you, as I was thinking about this earlier, you know, because you are so kind-hearted, you are, you know, just such a strong man, literally, physically, every which way, but is consistent. Okay. Yeah. You show up, and it's so hard to find people like that, especially in the Nashville fitness community, but just, I feel like in general, you know what I mean? And it is, you lead by example, just like how I do with my clients. And you have just continued to always be like, man, like, it's like I never can doubt. I'm never going to be like, oh, is Matt not doing something or whatever. It's like, you always are there. You're always in your workout, and you're always going for the next comp, you know, and it's just been so cool. So tell me and tell everybody this, if you can start back this past competition if you want, what was that one? The World's Strongest Man, right?
Yeah. So World's Strongest Man is the, you know, that title is reserved for the giant men, the guys that you see on TV, the professionals. Okay. But that organization puts on official strongman games, or OSG, which is basically the weight class version of World's Strongest Man. Okay. So the competition that I just did is the highest level. Yeah. The winner will call themselves, I'm the world's strongest 105, which is my weight class, middleweight man. You know, I placed fourth, which was awesome. Yes. Little disappointing to miss the podium. Okay. But like,
because it's top three is podium.
Top three is podium. I finished fourth. Okay. Very happy about how I finished. Everything went great. But to look back at like where we started when it was me, you, and Blake, and then we had a little strongman group for a couple years, and like that was so much fun. And I missed that. I missed the camaraderie that we had. As I've grown in the sport, I've kind of branched out a little bit, worked with some different people. Yeah. The strongman community in Nashville has changed a little bit, not in a bad way, but just like everything evolves. Right. But I do miss that time when it was like me, you, and Blake driving in your car at 6 a.m. with, you've got like the club music blasting while me and Blake just woke up. Yeah. No, that's exactly what happened. Danny came to pick us up, and just loud music. I'm like, Danny, it's 6 a.m. The sun's not even up yet.
We're about to lift an ungodly amount, so I'm trying to get ready. Y'all are like, we'll get ready before we go on. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
But the consistency, like I've done other than the year where I had my bicep surgery, I think I've done 3 or 4 shows every year.
Yeah, and for those listening, that's a lot in this sport, because
it's one every 4 months or so, 3 or 4 months. And it's fun. I don't do it because I'm not making money off of it. I mean, here and there, maybe a little bit, but I spend way more than I'll ever make. Right. It's just fun. I like having something to train for. I like having some structure in my life. Like I have to get my 4 training sessions in a week. If I don't have something to train for, if I don't have a competition coming up, it's so easy to I'll just skip it. Yeah. I'll just go in and do some bench press and some curls, and I'll call it a day. But when I have an event coming up, it's not even a decision. It's like brushing my teeth. It's just something that I do, and I have to do it every single day or 4 days a week. Yeah. And that's something I stress to my clients all the time. Consistency trumps everything. Yeah. You know, walking 1 mile every day is so much better than sprinting once a week. Yeah, 100%. And so I tell it to my clients. It's kind of how I live my life. And like, I don't know, it's just, it's the way I do things.
It's just how you're wired. Yeah. And so tell us, too, because you came back from a football, like you grew up playing football.
Yep. That's what I was just about to ask. So like, and you can kind of branch this into your background about being athletic. And because you said you don't really train unless you have something to train for. That piques my ears because I'm a little like, kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So you probably were an athlete before. It was going to be my conclusion.
Yeah. So I grew up playing all sports. I was in high school. I won an award when I graduated. It was called the 4x3 award, meaning I was in 3 sports all 4 years. So I never was out of a sport throughout high school. And I was like one of 2 people in my graduating class to win that. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But like growing up, our parents didn't care what we did.
Yeah.
But we had to do something. It could have been show choir, which I also did.
Okay. Yeah.
It could have been chess club. They didn't care, but we had to do something. And I gravitated more towards sport, athletic. In the summertime when there wasn't a sport, I was going to the weight room 3 days a week and working out.
Okay.
And then I played football in college. When college was over, I was like, I need a break. I think I'm going to, I'm just going to go in and kind of do whatever I want. So I remember doing like 1 month where all I did was go in and like bench press and curls and like just easy. I'm like, I'm tired of squatting and power cleaning and deadlifting. I'm just going to go in and do some shoulders and do some arms and be done. I did that for like a month. And I got so sick of it. Yeah. So bored.
Right.
So then I started like writing. That's kind of when I started personal training, but it was just for myself. I was writing programs like, all right, let me squat twice a week. Let me deadlift once a week. Like I was writing out workouts just for myself to do. Yep. And that was great. But then I found myself just kind of doing the stuff that I was good at, the stuff that I liked. I never did split squats. I never did, any core work. It was just stuff that I liked and was good at. And then, so when Blake came to me with Strongman, and I did that first competition, I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I love this. Gives me something to train for. I'd been lifting with barbells my whole life. So when I got to do like some sandbag and log and stones, like this shit is awesome. Right. So, like this is why I've been lifting with barbells my whole life and getting strong was so I can do this. Yeah. And so that's why I've kind of fallen in love with the sport of strongman. Like it feels like I've been training my whole life to be good at lifting weird stuff for whatever reason, Yeah,
no, I do. And so I wanted to ask you, so growing up, was there anyone that, like, did your parents, were they active? Like, did you see anyone around you?
No.
Like, okay.
No, they were. My dad played high school football. My mom, I think, played like field hockey in school,
I can see that. Yes.
But they weren't. I didn't grow up watching my parents work out. My dad was a carpenter, so he's very active. And like when I was growing up, he was, had the big shoulders and big arms because he was working with his hands all the time. But working out was, I didn't get into it until I was in high school, really. Okay. I actually remember in middle school, we had PE, and one of our PE like courses was weightlifting. Yeah. Where we went into a weight room and they had these barbells that were like, 3 feet long. Right. And they had the plastic weights that were full of sand. Okay. And they were bolted on the bar. Like you couldn't change the weights out. You needed tools to change the weights out. Okay. Anyone who's over 35 knows exactly what I'm talking about. And there are 3 of them. There's a light, medium, and a heavy bar. Okay. And it was just an old, crappy bench press. And I remember I was like the only kid in my class to be able to lift the heavy one. Okay. This is the first time I ever touched a weight in my life. Yeah. And I just remember thinking like, oh, I'm a little bit stronger than these other kids in my class. Maybe this is something that I'm good at. And then when I got into high school, that's when I got more into sports and like was lifting, 3 days a week or so. But other than that, my sister, so I have 2 older sisters. My oldest sister, Rebecca. Yes. Yeah. She's 2 years older than me. Okay. So when I was a freshman, she was a junior. She was in all the sports too, and kind of what. And like, so she knew the coaches. So when I was a freshman coming into high school, she introduced me to like, here's the track coach and the football coach, and we're gonna get you in the weight room and do this. So she was really a big part of my like growing up and getting me into the weight room and getting me even going to college. I didn't get any D1 or D2 scholarship offers to play football. I got some D3 offers. She was already in school, Minnesota State, Mankato. Okay. She had classes with the football coaches, like, PE classes in college. Yeah. And she's like, my brother, he's a really good football player. My team in high school was pretty bad, so we didn't get recruited. Gotcha. But so she was kind of recruiting me to the coaches that were teaching her. Nice. And so that's kind of how I got in touch with them. Okay. Was not offered a scholarship, but basically offered to like walk on to this D2 program. Okay. But I went to that school
Yeah.
because she was already there.
Yeah.
And she kind of had the in, and that was, it's great. And now she also competes in strongman, and she's doing really, really well. She's one of the top 10 strongest women in her weight class right now.
Which is incredible. And we've all competed together, which has been awesome. And getting to know her and getting to know your family and everything. They're just the best. And I am so proud of her, just watching her continue to go through records and all of this, everything that she's been able to accomplish has been awesome.
Yeah. If I remember right, you might remember better than me, but your first nationals, did she compete at that one?
No.
Was it your second
It was
nationals?
the second one, yes.
And I think she was like second to last, maybe.
Yeah,
she was right. She was at the bottom of the nationals roster.
Right.
And nationals is not. It sounds like it's the top of the line, but it's like the top of the amateur line. And so she was at the bottom of nationals. This past competition that I did, that she also did, she just barely missed the cut of the top 10 at OSG, which again is the world championship, world strongest man for her weight class. So she barely missed making top 10.
And that's within so for reference of time for everyone, that's about a 6-year, right? Like between 6-year time frame. So, and again, goes to show with like the consistency part of it, that when you stay in it, when you're able to, you continue to fight for what you want, Yeah, I
tell people all the time, she was the better athlete growing up. Like, she was the more natural athlete. I still run funny, but I couldn't run. I was fast, but I didn't know, my arms were flailing. Like, I didn't know how to run. I was strong and I worked hard. She was a much more natural athlete in all of her sports, softball, volleyball, basketball, like whatever she did, she was good at athletically, way better than me. I had to work really hard for all my athleticism. She was the athlete of the family and still is. Like, she's been in strongman much less time than I have, and she has, vaulted to the level that I'm at, competing professionally. She's got some world record deadlifts.
I saw,
It's unbelievable what she's been able to do. So that, like, as far as role models, that's number one for me.
Okay. Well, thank you for answering that.
Do you mind if I just ask real quick? We talk about strongman a lot, but it seems like a good time. Will you kind of take us through like what you mentioned nationals and then OSGs, but also like the scoring and like how some of that stuff works. Like you said, she barely missed the cut. Okay. So like, what does that mean? What are the events? Just for people that have no idea what strongman is. And I know what it is, but I don't know some of those things. So kind of like how you move up, you go to nationals, then OSG, like kind of that situation.
Yeah.
And then kind of how the competitions themselves are scored.
It's kind of I might have to just kind of talk through it because it's kind of complicated. Like, if you're not it's hard. If you're not in the sport, it is kind of hard to flesh out what all that means. And when I talk to people who don't know, I'm just like, I used
to tell people we lift random objects and that's what it is. 5 different events.
But so going back to OSG, World Championship, there's about 30 to 50 people per weight class. It's a 3-day event. Everyone competes day 1 and day 2.
Okay.
After day 2, they cut down to top 10. And for most people, that's the big goal, is they want to be in that top 10, because then you can say, I'm top 10 in the world.
I see.
And even if you get, 8th, 9th, 10th, you still get this big medal that says, I'm top 10 in the world at my weight class. It's a big deal. And then podium obviously is a big deal. And winning, you get to say, I'm strongest man or woman in my weight class in the world. So making that cut, that top 10 cut, for most people, like, that's the make or break of their weekend. And I was fortunate enough to make the top 10. My sister, I think, was 11th, so just barely missed it, but she did great. I mean, it was still a fun experience. My parents were able to come. My other sister was able to come. It was 3 or 4 hours from my hometown. So they got to come watch, and that, to me, that means the most. 'Cause like when I have friends, family come watch, support. Like, I've done a few shows where I just go by myself and do it, and it's not. It's fun.
It's not the same.
It feels like not a chore, but it feels like it's work, or it's, it takes some of the fun out of it. And I'm lucky enough to where I've been doing it long enough where I can go to any show and I'll know a handful of people, and everyone in the sport is very cool. Like, it's not cutthroat. It's not, people aren't sabotaging your gym bag like I hear about in bodybuilding. I've heard there's some backstage cattiness.
Well, and that's the thing too with strongman is if everyone listening, like, when we look at the subset of people that do strongman, it's a small amount of people on the grand scheme of
yeah.
things. So it's even smaller, I would say, than powerlifting, and even smaller than definitely smaller than bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So it's a subset. So you do get to know people. You start to recognize them at competitions, and it's just so exciting. And even when I remember, like, because me and Becky and another girl at that nationals, we got like pretty much the lowest scoring, right? And all three of us, were kind of like, man, but we were so excited for each other that we were just there, and that we had that camaraderie. And me and Becky still talk, but a couple of the other competitors, they still reach out, they follow the mission, you know what I mean? Like, and it's really cool. So it's definitely different than I would say bodybuilding a little bit.
Well, and I think it's because it is such a tight knit. There's so few people who really do it, especially as you go higher levels.
Yes.
You tend to see the same 10 people in each weight class.
Well, and he's saying this thing, he's like, well, yeah, because when people look and they see Matt coming, they're a little worried. They're like, oh man, they're like, he's here this one.
No, I try my best to like get to know people, be friendly with everyone. If there's
Right.
someone I don't know, I try to go out of my way to meet them. And I'm not, when you're competing, it's hard sometimes to be really friendly and with everybody, and because you get focused and you're in the zone. But like I do make an effort to remember people's names, which is always hard for me. But I'll just ask them like, hey, I know we met at the last show. What was your name again? Like follow them on Instagram. But everyone's so cool in Strongman. It's so great. Like I had a guy that I was going to compete against, and he was giving me tips like a couple weeks out from the show. His name's Ben Burley.
Yeah.
He ended up not going because his weight cut didn't go well. But like we were talking like deadlift technique and sandbag technique, and this was 2 weeks before we were competing against each other. He sent me videos. Hey, try this. Like, it's such a cool community of guys and girls that are very supportive of one another. No one's hoping that you go out and you do bad. No one's hoping that you get hurt. Like, we all want to win, but the camaraderie is unmatched in any other sport that I've done.
And I feel like that's because there's a level of respect. Because there's respect in a sense of when someone can lift a weight and that how hard it is to lift, you're just like, man, like it's different.
Well, and it goes beyond just, they can deadlift 800 pounds. I respect him. Yeah. No, it's like they've been doing this to get to that level. They've been doing this 5-6+ years of consistent training with heavy weight that hurts, and
breaks
that
you're
doing like cardio that doesn't feel like cardio, but like you on the verge of puking sometimes. Like some of this stuff is so hard and painful and not fun. Yeah. And we all just have the same weird hobby that we pay so much money to travel and do for what? For a medal and a pat on the back. Like we all have this weird hobby. We kind of stick together through it, and I love that.
No, that's amazing, and I deeply miss it so much, and so it's just
come back anytime.
Oh man, hey, I did just deadlift 315.
I saw that. It looked great. Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
How many reps?
And I just did one, and then the camera angle was not good, so I had to do it again. So you
for the
already,
gram, for the gram,
because I didn't have you there, Matt. I did. Matt basically was my videographer. Let's just be honest. When it comes to all of my videos that I did, like I was just like, Matt, we gotta record this. Like, come on. But it was because everything we did was so cool, and I just loved it, and and the training, and it was just so different and exciting, and I feel like it was not just inspiring, but it was for women to see these lifts and be like, wow, like what's going on? Because it wasn't like at the time when I was doing Strongman, I wasn't overly ripped. I wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like with muscles and all those things, whatever. It's just, I felt athletic, felt healthy and everything like that, and would do these amazing feats of strength. And it was so cool and it was so special. And I think that it brought more women into seeing that you can be strong and sexy and all the things, in one.
And confident.
Yeah.
Think about I think it was just nationals that we would do when there'd be the banquet at the end.
Yeah.
And I remember you'd try on like 8 different outfits and you'd have the glitter and the makeup and the hair.
Matt, why you gotta bring this up?
But like, have you ever felt, and I'm sure you have a confidence with bodybuilding and bikini, and that's a little bit different. But just as far as like physical accomplishment.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for subscribing to the LYB podcast. Thank you for sharing this podcast with everyone that you know. Thank you so much for believing in the mission. If you have any questions and are looking to do online programming, please reach out at Dani@DaniFitness.com, or you can look at my website to see all my offerings. And I'm just so excited to be in 2025 with you all and to continue to bring amazing stories with amazing athletes, parents, the person that you know down the street, whoever it might be, to make sure to, share this journey with you guys. And I'm just so thankful for every one of you. And if you guys haven't already, please make sure you're following on all social platforms at Dani Fitness 1.
Hey guys, it's Matt McQuiston. I am a mobile personal trainer with Klug Fitness. Check us out online on all the social medias or at klugfitness.com. If you want to follow my strongman journey, check out my Instagram. It'll be tagged below, and can't wait to see you there. Ever felt that confident than when you finished a strongman show?
Oh, I mean, not really. Even with bodybuilding, it was still different afterwards. You know what I'm saying? When we would go, and no matter what we did, whether it was when we were in like wherever, Alabama, or we were like in Kentucky or wherever we went to, it was just this feeling of being an absolute badass. And it's hard to explain to people. But anyone who lifts knows that you just feel on top of the world afterwards. But I remember after our first nationals, I was like looking in the mirror and like my throat was like all like splotchy and everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what is, and I remember asking you guys, I'm like, what happened? And they were like, dude, like those are like blood vessels that like broke or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
And
now.
I thought it was like permanent. And you're like, no, it's okay. But I had never experienced that. But it was from that like 485 frame deadlift or whatever that I did. And I was just like, let's freaking go, because that was something I had trained but couldn't really train. It was hard for us to like, you know what I mean? Like we could do deadlift and stuff. So with a lot of the strongman stuff, you guys listening, like the implements, we didn't just have those. Like we didn't, a lot of times we had to makeshift them. I remember carrying all these plates, just running with them, and because we didn't have a sandbag heavy enough. And it was so, it beats you up, like bruised up, cut up, all these things. But it was so cool because then when we got to competitions, I felt like we trained harder than the actual competition was. You know what I mean?
Because you get to the competition and everything is nice and neat. The sandbags are packed tight. The stones are smooth and, But in training, sometimes it's like, all right, well, we don't even know what this weighs, but let's pick it up and, just do what we can with it. And,
right.
There's definitely an element of like ruggedness, kind of prison yard style, like this might be a little rusty, but we're gonna pick it up.
Which was hilarious, me coming from competitive dancing and then like starting, Dani Fitness, and it was a lot of glitter and a lot of the Move Fit era, because it literally is I'm heavy lifting with you on Sundays, and then I'm on Saturday, the day before, I was on like in a Lululemon doing Move Fit. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm over here dancing, and the next day lifting like an absolute beast or pulling a truck or, like.
I know you miss like competing and some of the training. Do you miss getting like beat up a little bit, like bruises on the arms, like bruises on the collarbone, like some of that type of stuff?
So it's funny because it's so funny because like today my hands kind of hurt when I was like holding on to the rig because I was doing some like some knees to chest or whatever, and I was like, don't really like that. And then I remember looking down being like, wow, I remember when these were ripped open. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like I will say that when I was doing the deadlifts, my belt, it did like pinch and it had those marks on me. And I looked at it and I was like, huh. And I didn't mind it, but it was just one of those things where it's not something that I experience a lot anymore. So it's kind of like when it happens, it just brings me back to that. Yeah. And it's a cool nostalgia.
Yeah. There was a couple years ago, I was walking behind a truck and I didn't see the tail hitch, and I kicked the tail hitch with my shin, and it left like an indent in my shin for a good week or two, and it hurt so bad. But it reminded me of football, because in football you'd get cleated all the time in the shins and have these big gashes and it hurt. But it took me back to football. I was like, oh, I kind of miss. I kind of miss that like ruggedness.
Right, and so because I would say that like with what is it called? Like when we were competing, what was so funny is like when I got to bodybuilding, people were like, "Oh, you probably don't know like the heels, the hair, all that." I was like, because they remember seeing me sweaty, muddy, gross.
Because you came from Strongman.
Because all they remember seeing was from Strongman. So it was so funny because I was like, y'all, I was getting spray tans for Strongman comps too. Like my hair was straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'd wear the booty shorts the Barbell Voodoo would sponsor. Like, but I always had that element in me. It was just funny because they're like, oh no, you're the rugged, you're carrying all these things and whatever. And I liked that. I did like when people knew me for that.
As opposed to like, oh, it's a dancer. She's used to being on stage.
Yeah, because that's like, that was my life. And so Strongman was such an element and a part where I look back and reflect of how different my life was. Like bodybuilding almost was like kind of seamless of like what would have made sense if I didn't have to do Strongman and went to like dance and got into fitness and gone the bodybuilding route. So it kind of like, that was a chunk of time that it honestly to me feels like it was a different lifetime. You know what I mean? When I look back at these videos and look back at things, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was so cool and it was so great and it wouldn't have happened without you. And so
I just have to point out from the outside looking in, we talk about this a lot. And like that's a great point that you brought up and it was a great question. Like the difference between, because it is very, very different. Like you said, and my hands used to be ripped open all the time. Like that's much different than, but I think it's really cool just from the outside looking in as a observation. She talks about that time period of her life. I mean, that's your whole brand. Loving your body and no matter where you're at, whether you're strongman, whether you're dead, right? But that's always the time period that it feels like we come back to of like, whenever you were bodybuilding, you were shredded. But like the confidence, like you were talking about, from being able to just going out there and just lifting heavy stuff, like it's a different
it was having
sense.
to navigate difference of like, okay, I'm in the gym and I'm not lifting super heavy, but I have to be fulfilled with that I did the workouts and I ate properly and I, you know what I mean? Like you had to channel it differently versus with Strongman, you still had to be on a meal plan. You still had to do all these things, but it was so different in the mindset. And that was where I had to like shape and shift, and I didn't feel as fulfilled in that mindset as I did with Strongman of just having that like, hardcore Sunday where I didn't leave Strongman Sunday until I finished the lifts. I continually stayed in there versus bodybuilding. I couldn't get a weight to get out of the gym. Like I did my 17 exercises and my 200 split squats and my 1,000 lunges. I'm good. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm done. Versus in the gym, Strongman, we'd stay in there for hours.
Yeah, and it was just fun too. We were just hanging out, goofing around half the time,
and it was that community, and so I love that, and I definitely think it is one like how I think Dandy Fitness has its own community. It's very unique, and same with Strongman.
Was it hard when you started competing in bodybuilding? Was it hard with a judge would give you, like if you got a low score and it comes from a judge, it comes from someone literally judging your body on a subjective level, as opposed to Strongman, I either get the rep or I don't. It's on me. There's no subjectivity about it. It's objective. Did I complete this? Did I complete it fast enough? Was that a hard transition to make?
Oh my gosh. I love how Matt's interviewing me right now. You're so good at this. No, so literally it was the hardest transition because my worth, I was the strong woman. Like I felt like I embodied that, lived it, breathed it, whatever. So for me, it was very black and white. It was finally, you can't, no matter what you say about my body or this or that, whatever, if I lift that weight, check. Like, you know what I mean? It was so, it was the black and whiteness that I wanted in life that I didn't get in anywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it was so beautiful. It was such a beautiful time. And from there, when it came to bodybuilding and them saying these things, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. Or I'm like, I think I did pretty good. So I had my own confidence in it, which helped me carry me through it so that I didn't feel completely worthless at the end, which a lot of people do. But it still was one of those where I have to get out there and know that I gave my best. I hit my poses. And that for me was a lift. You see what I'm saying? I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I was perfect with the diet. I was perfect with the movement. I did all of it.
Yeah.
So that's how I then became okay, those are my checks, which can also be very detrimental because you can take that to an extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which I probably, if I ever were to compete in bodybuilding, I think I would, that would be like you just said.
Yeah.
Hitting your macros, getting all your cardio, that would be the new, I don't want to say obsession, but that would be the only goal.
Yeah.
I don't think I could ever do it. So I applaud you that you were able to and you were successful in what you did.
Thank
because
you.
I could not handle a grown man giving me a number score
Yeah.
on my body.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it.
Like, what if that person wakes up in a bad mood that day and they just don't like you or something? I mean, I know you would think that wouldn't enter in
Yeah.
the equation, but the fact that they're like subjectively making
No,
those judgments,
it is.
like,
It's a lot of just, it's a lot of mind and mental games.
a lot of
essentially.
politics to it,
I've
right?
heard there's
Or
a lot
no?
of politics
There
where,
is.
like, if it's your first show, they're not going to grade you as well as they'll grade someone on their second or third show. I've heard there's a lot of that going on.
I don't know about all that, but I think it's a lot of nonsense regardless because, like, when it comes down to it, they didn't really know what they wanted. Like, it changes. And
Yeah.
especially because I went into wellness thinking, okay, big legs, that's what they want. That's what they told me. So I was like, let's go. I got the legs. Let's, all the things. And there, you didn't have to be super shredded. You didn't have to have like blocky abs, none of that stuff. So I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. But then when it came down to it, in the pictures, I would literally have the best legs, right? We turned to the side and that booty wasn't there. And so because of that, they were like, oh, well, we only want, like, or not only, but like, that's the main focus. But they changed that.
Right.
So I prepped this whole time thinking legs. Like, I mean, yes, I was still working out my glutes, but with the injuries, it was still hard to do that and grow. And in any way, so it just became very upsetting because it's like, okay, well, you know what I mean? So but it was different wherever you went. So if I would have gone to Kentucky or Indiana or competed, I may have won there. But then if I was here, I didn't win. You know what I mean? So it's so hard. It almost feels very out of your control, right? Versus like with Strongman, even though it was out of your control, you would always tell me, Dani, it doesn't matter who shows up. You have practiced. Just do what you did in practice. Like, do that here. Nothing changes. Don't church it up, whatever. So I took that into bodybuilding as well. Of like, it doesn't matter who shows up. I have done my absolute best, rock it out, and then we're good. You know what I mean? But it almost just felt like with Strongman that it's still, you had some control over the weight's either going to go up or it's not. And that's how you're going to win, So
with that objective, like, feedback, do you guys find that, like, with the bodybuilding thing, that seems to be a big thing? Like, you could finish like third, fourth, you look amazing. Like, we've talked about that.
Yes.
You look amazing, but then these people come off like depressed because they didn't, get second or first or whatever place. And it's always been crazy to me because I look at these people and I'm like you're saying, I couldn't do what you're doing right now. Like, you look amazing, you're incredible. Like, do you find that with Strongman? It seems like maybe that would be less, or is it like if you do well but you don't place or something, it's still like a thing of like, yeah, but you still lifted all this weight and this kind of thing?
I think it depends on the level, the level that you're competing.
Yeah.
So if you're at World's Strongest Man, OSG, and you hit 6 PRs on all 6 events, and you placed 14th.
yeah.
Like I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but no one cares.
Yeah.
Now, like at that level, it's more about winning.
Yeah.
Or placing high or podium, whatever.
Right.
At lower levels, when you're starting out, I tell people all the time, like, who cares where you place? Let's hit a deadlift PR. Let's like beat our training times.
Right.
Let's come in feeling good, injury free.
Yeah.
No like big mistakes, and then just see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, so I think early on, like those kind of goals, like individual event goals, are great. As you move up, then it becomes a little bit more about
For sure.
trophies, podiums, that kind of stuff.
Speaking of, getting through injury free, I wanted to talk about and touch on the bicep tear.
Yeah.
So has that happened a couple times, or is it just
No,
the
it's
one?
Just the one. Yep.
And, because we had talked about that. I remember when like flipping for the tire and stuff, how you had said like, that's something that could happen. I'm like, well, that could happen with that. And you're like, yeah, it actually is. Yeah. More common than you think. So how did yours happen? And I mean, how was the process of healing and all that?
Yeah, so I just through training, I was dealing with a lot of bicep tendonitis.
Okay.
And then we went bowling for our
Freaking bowling.
company Christmas party.
So we're blaming Kevin.
No, like I was excited.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you guys can. I was excited to bowl. I love bowling.
Yeah.
And so we went bowling. It was a Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think it was the second ball that I threw, and I felt the pop, and it was like intense pain through my arm.
Yeah.
I went up for a third, like the second ball, and I couldn't even hold. Like I could hold it, but so much pain. So I sat down. I said, I think I'm done. I'm like sweating
Yeah.
and my face is red and
Oh
I'm
my
trying to like
gosh.
we also had just sat down or like just started bowling.
Yeah.
We had just gotten there and I'm like, I don't want to ruin our Christmas party.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit here and deal with it. And then I had a competition literally 7 days later,
Oh
like
my
the
gosh.
next Saturday. So I went and got it checked out. And they, a couple different people looked at it and like,
Yeah.
well, it's still attached.
Yeah.
It's still on.
Yeah.
So you can compete, but it's going to hurt a lot.
I remember this because I went to that competition. It was at that
It was here.
CrossFit
Yep,
gym.
it was in Nashville, CrossFit
Yeah,
East
so I went
Nashville.
to watch you. Yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yeah,
competed.
He competed. Yeah. He competed.
I was in extreme pain the whole time.
Yeah.
I made it to the third event, which
Yeah.
was a yoke carry into a farmer carry.
Yeah.
I finished both, and then I went as soon as I was done. I went over to the trainer because there's always a trainer there.
Yeah.
And I was seeing this trainer like in between every event. I'd go see him. He
Yeah.
would tape my bicep, massage,
Yes.
like whatever he could just to make it feel better.
Right.
So after the event, I went over there to see him, and I looked at my arm, and this was just mush.
Oh.
It was just so swollen and mush, and I could take my finger and I could like go through, like I could push my finger to the other side because there was nothing here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No, because if you touch your bicep right in the elbow,
Yeah.
you feel all those tendons. When that's gone, there's nothing there.
There's nothing.
There's
You
nothing.
push all the
My
way through.
bicep was up in my shoulder.
Yeah.
But the thing was, I had no pain. I was like, my pain is gone.
Oh my
My
gosh.
pain. I could move my arm, no pain. So it was
Yeah.
like getting a tooth knocked loose where it really hurts.
Yeah.
And then you get it ripped out, and it's like, oh, my pain's gone.
Yeah.
So I tried to do the next event.
Yeah.
Because he told me, the trainer's like, it's
Wasn't the-
gone.
yeah.
That your bicep is gone. He's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, it was way up there. But he told me, he's like, it's torn. You can't tear it anymore.
Yeah.
So, if you think you can compete,
Finish
go
it
ahead.
out, yeah.
So I went and I tried. The next event was a sandbag event. I picked up
remember.
the lightest sandbag.
Yeah.
Nope, no way. So then
Yeah.
You were there. You were there.
Yes. Yeah.
So like
But-
when this is happening?
So there, yes, and the thing is though too, because this was in 2023?
no.
No, 2022.
This would have been 21, I think. Because I think it was
Okay.
after. This was after COVID.
Okay.
So I think it was 21.
Okay, so this is like I'm still trying to do strongman stuff, but my leg is numb and whatever. And I remember just coming out for it, watching it, and so I was like not always there for strongman Sundays anymore, and so I was kind of in and out. And yeah, I remember and just like working through my injury. But so I remember coming to support, and Andrew was like, "Yeah, he's having like bicep issue, things like that." And we're watching. And when you went for that sandbag and I saw that you couldn't lift it, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, now it's like serious. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you were on the low key kind of keep it on the DL. You weren't really
No,
trying to.
because I'm not, I'm not going to go in and say, hey, everyone, I have a hurt bicep, so
Yeah.
take,
Yeah.
don't do that. I was just going to compete as long as I could.
Yeah.
And, I was told by the people who checked it out, like, it's attached, it's in good shape, it's just inflamed, whatever.
Yeah.
And maybe it was. Maybe bowling had nothing to do with it, and I
Yeah.
just tore it, lifting. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it also, that's the only time I've had to drop out of a competition.
Yeah.
That was also the first competition that I did that had payout.
Yeah.
And I forget what it was, but I mean, it was substantial. It was like maybe 5,000 for first, something like that.
Yeah.
And like, so that was a home show.
Yeah.
It was to go to a big time final.
Yeah.
It was a qualifier for an even bigger show.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first payout I had ever
Yeah,
competed
had
for.
to compete for.
And honestly, like I still say that was the best shape I was ever in. Like that was the strongest I had ever been. That
Yeah.
was the best show prep I ever had. And then to top it off, I was in first place.
Yeah.
After my 3 events.
Right.
And so having to drop out, I remember dropping out and I just cried. Like I sat down and I just started bawling. Like, and I had guys coming up to me and like consoling me. And I wasn't, in pain crying. I was just like so emotional.
Yeah.
And I was just crying. And I had so many guys come up to me,
Yeah.
even guys that weren't competing.
Yeah.
Chattanooga Strongman, Bob,
Yeah.
God, I'm blanking on his last name.
Yeah.
Big red
I
beard.
know which
Bob.
one. Yeah, you're
he
talking
was
about.
just there taking pictures. He came up to me and talked to me about he's torn both of his biceps.
Yeah.
And he was kind of giving me the like, it's this many weeks, you'll be fine, whatever. And I had so many guys come up to me and like, just kind of give me some assurance that
Yeah.
you're going to be fine, you're going to be stronger than ever.
I love that.
And then, yeah.
And
What's
And that helped a lot.
Oh, yeah, that meant the world to me. Like to have competitors come
Mm-hmm.
up to me and like, hey, You're going to be fine. Like, this is a pretty common injury in the sport, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I was, it was like I got surgery, I think a week later, like I think it was that following weekend, I got my surgery. And then, it was like 4 weeks of not much activity. And then I was able to start doing some rehab, and it was good to go.
Yeah.
The next show that I did was about a little less than a year later.
Yeah. Okay.
And there was a tire flip.
Yeah.
Tire flip is notorious for taking biceps because people
I
don't
never
have
knew
good,
that really beforehand.
So at a lightweight,
Yeah.
you're not going to worry about it. But at the weight, we're doing 1,000-pound tire flip, very heavy. And guys will do it with bad form, and they do it with their biceps, and that's where you get a big injury risk.
Yeah.
So at the show, I think we lost like 5 guys to bicep. It was like one after another, and it was literally a 1,000-pound tire.
Yeah.
I don't remember if Andrea, my wife, told me not to do it, but she was so worried, and it was like I had to console her, like, no, it's gonna be okay. Don't worry. Like, I'll be fine. I'm good at tire flips. Like, don't worry. Like. And actually, this happens a lot in our relationship. Me having to console her, like, calms me down. Where, like, I normally would be maybe a little nervous about something, but, like, she's so nervous that I have to be the calming presence in the room.
Yeah.
So I told her, like, no, it's going to be fine. And it was. I did really well in that event, and I didn't tear my bicep again, but that was kind of scary. Like, my first show back, and now I got to flip a 1,000-pound tire after 5 guys just popped their bicep.
Yeah.
And
you're literally seeing, like, in front of you, like, what could happen. Like, that's very real because you've had that injury. So it's like, I mean, so you were able to just.
How difficult was that mental hurdle?
Yeah.
Of actually doing the tire?
You know your body well, though. So I think you knew. You're like, I got this.
To be honest, when I compete, I kind of black out. Like while I'm in the event.
Yes.
I don't hear anything. A lot of times I'll come off after and I'm like, was anyone cheering? I didn't hear a thing.
Yep.
And Andrew's like, yeah, I'm screaming my head off. The whole crowd was cheering. Yeah. Like, I literally black out. Like, I don't remember much. I don't feel much. A lot of times I'll feel like, oh yeah, I tweaked my back or something, but it'll be way after.
Yeah.
Because your adrenaline's running, like, I say black out like metaphorically, but there are times when you're literally on the verge of blacking out because you're under so much pressure. But no, so for me it was I don't think about it too much. Like, it's just what I have to do. I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
I don't have much time to like worry about what could happen.
Definitely.
It's just go out and do it.
Yeah. No, just pick up the weight, right?
Yeah.
Like leading up to it though.
Yeah.
Like the weeks leading up to it, like your first competition back.
So the only thing with that was when I had this 1,000-pound tire that I had to flip.
Yeah.
The heaviest tire we had at Blake's, I think, was 400, 500, maybe. Like, so I had, what I would do is I'd have Moose, the biggest guy in the gym.
Yeah.
I'd have him like bear planked on the tire. So he'd be on all fours on the tire. And then I'd lift it and flip, and then he'd have to jump off, as I lifted it up. But that was, again, like, we just had to MacGyver some stuff every once in a while because we wouldn't always have equipment. But no, it was like, if your training is smart and you're consistent with your training, like, the competition is just fun. You've already done the work.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry and think, like, you just do it.
And for someone listening, so that you can explain too, that you have always had somebody that's like been a coach for you, right? Like different like seasons or different training, like whether it was
pretty like when I started, Blake, was helping me out.
Yeah.
He kind of taught me the ropes and showed me a lot of things, and he was a huge help, still is. Yeah. But when I started, he was my main coach. Yeah. And then when I decided, like, all right, I want to take this seriously and I want to get as high level as I can, is when I reached out to Andrew Triana at Go Super Brain.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Andy. And then I hired him to do nutrition and to do training, and that took my training to the next level. Yeah. And then after a few years, it was just time to move on for him and me. He had some other things going on, and now I work with Adam Dirks, who's a local Nashville trainer. And it's great. Like, I think I could do it myself. Like, I know, obviously I do it for other people, and I know what to do, but to take the mental work of, I write programs all day for everybody. When it comes to myself, I tend to fall into, what am I good at? What do I like? What's easy? I'm not going to I would never program Bulgarian split squats. And
I think that's such a big thing for people to realize that even like, especially the top people in their sport, whether it's bodybuilding or it's, strongman or it's running for races, like they have coaches, they have trainers.
Yep.
So when people always like will say, I'm just gonna do it on myself, it's like you can, but it's probably not going to be to the level to where you want to be.
No,
and it's the mental part of it.
Right.
You don't want to think about it. You don't want to have to worry.
It's so nice just opening my phone, reading my workout, and just doing it. I don't have to think like, that's going to suck, or do I really want to do that? Do I want to do 3 sets or 4 sets? Like, just do it. It's on the sheet. If I'm paying for it,
you're going to do it.
I've already invested my time and my money. I just do it. It's like I said, it's like brushing my teeth. It's not a conscious decision I make every day.
Right.
It's just part of the day.
Well, and I will say this. So you are the head trainer for Klug Fitness.
Yeah,
right?
Kevin's the owner.
Yeah.
Owner, CEO, founder, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah. And y'all knew each other before.
Yeah, Kevin and I played football together in college.
And he got you to come down here. Right?
Yeah, so when Kevin's brother, Carl.
That's what, yes.
Carl Klug.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah.
I've been spending all the time about talking. I had to ask eventually.
Yeah.
So Carl Klug got drafted to play football for the Tennessee Titans. Yeah. I was living with Kevin in Minnesota at the time.
Okay.
And as soon as Carl got drafted, Kevin's like, I'm moving to Nashville.
Okay.
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
So Carl getting drafted to the Titans is what brought Kevin here.
Got it. Okay.
About a year into Kevin living here or so, maybe 2 years, he started the business, Klug Fitness. And then I think maybe 3 months into him starting Klug Fitness, I moved down with him to help him run the company.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Very cool. And I will say this too, for those who don't know, how did you meet your now wife?
So she was living in Massachusetts at the time while I was here.
Yeah.
And she was visiting Nashville, and she was looking into, also a trainer in Massachusetts, and she wanted to try out a few different fitness classes, trainers, because she was interested in moving here. She thought maybe I could live in Nashville. And she just wanted to kind of connect in the Nashville fitness scene.
I know where this is going.
Oh my gosh.
So she hit me up on Instagram and said, hey, I'm going to be visiting Nashville in a couple of weeks or month or whatever. And, I'd love to come to one of your group training sessions. I said, all right, we're here at this time and place, and here's how you sign up, whatever. I completely forgot about it. Like a couple weeks went by.
Right.
She showed up. I was like, who is this? Who is this girl? And then so she comes, she does the workout. Yeah. And then she had like a couple other workouts planned at like maybe Shed Fitness. I don't know, like other group fitness classes planned. Apparently she didn't go to any of them because she was so wrecked from, our workouts are hard. They're not always easy. Yeah. And she's like, I'm done. I'm good with that one workout. And then it's funny because after the workout, because I was just talking to her up a little bit, like, oh, so how long are you in town for? And then I go to like find her on Instagram. I was like, oh, this is the girl that I talked to a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And so then that's kind of how our relationship started. She went back to Massachusetts. We just stayed in touch. Yeah. And then eventually I was like, what are you doing for 4th of July? You want to come down to come back to Nashville? And and so that's just kind of how it started. We met online originally, and then she came and worked out, and then it just kind of went from there. Yeah.
And then she ended up moving here right after, or when was it, I guess, after she had met you? How long would you say?
So she originally came for a workout. I want to say that was in like May. And then we had talked for a month or two just on Instagram. Yeah. And then I said, why don't you come down for 4th of July? Yeah. She came, she was going to stay with some other friends that she had here. Okay. Something happened that weekend where I think the Airbnb that she was going to stay in that her friend owned got like filled last minute. Something happened. And I was like, come stay with me. Yeah. Whatever. I even said, I will sleep on the couch. I said, I'll sleep on the couch. You can have my bed, whatever. Yeah. And so she did. She came and stayed with me. Didn't sleep on the couch. Okay. But then after that, it was just kind of like, hey, if this is something that you are interested in, right, and you want to move here, let's do it. Like, oh my god, come to Nashville. Yeah. Like, we can make this work. It'll be great. Yeah. I didn't know if she was going to do it, and then she's like, all right, yeah, I'm going to start looking for places, and then she moved, and that's kind of.
So let me say, okay, so for everyone listening, so she actually ended up doing Strongman with us as well, so which was so cool. And and she still does some Strongman as well. And then the other thing is that when we, like when you first saw her, so you obviously were like interested. You're like, whoa, like who is this? Because also too, with the groups that he's talking about, so I would do the group classes, like you knew the regulars, like you knew there's pretty much like kind of a the same people and whatever. So you'd have kind of a drop in here or there, but so she caught your eye, and so does she say the same thing about when she saw you?
No. So
Dani does love these stories. Like she loves to be like, okay, so that's what you say happened. Now let's.
Yeah.
So with us talking a little bit before we met, I kind of thought, okay, this girl's obviously very good looking, and she's a trainer, and she wants to come to my class. Like we weren't flirting, but I thought maybe she's interested.
Yeah. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening to the LYB podcast. If you haven't yet, please go check out the How to Love Your Body Throughout book on Amazon. This is my very first book. I am so proud of it. It is a short read. You can also get it on Kindle, so it's not a huge commitment, but it is something of a self-help book. So if you're someone who's looking for support, you're looking for tools, you're looking for just a way to feel better during this holiday season and into the new year, I definitely recommend it. I put my heart and soul into this, and this is just the start. So if you haven't yet, go on Amazon and get your first copy.
And then I met her. I'm like, this girl is beautiful, and she's in great shape, and I love that she's a trainer.
Yeah.
And so I tell her, and I tell everyone, when she left that first workout, I thought like I could marry this girl.
Wow.
I didn't say, oh, that's my wife, and I'm going, but it was like, this could be my wife.
Yeah.
I don't know if she believes me when I tell her that, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask her if she felt that way after meeting me, she'd say absolutely not. She was not interested. I was kind of like, oh, so what are you doing for lunch later? Like trying to like putting the feelers out there. Like, we get together.
She was like, I came from my workout. I'm good. Like,
she had no interest. There were two girls. I don't know if you remember Jamie and Renee.
Yes.
They were one of the regulars.
Yeah.
And they, befriended her.
Okay.
And then they were telling her, like, we've never seen Matt look at a girl in a class, because I'm very professional, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But they knew that I was interested in her, and they kind of facilitated it. And they were like, he's so into you. We've never seen him like that. And she's like, really? Yeah. But that's kind of what kicked it off. Is like those two friends, Jamie and Renee, were very, very important in facilitating the back and forth.
So do you feel like if they wouldn't have facilitated, that you wouldn't have had the confidence to like make it happen, or was it? Because for people who don't know, you were very, like, back then, especially kind of like more like quiet. I would say quiet. Like it wasn't, more introverted.
I would, no, if they weren't pushing it on both, so they were pushing me and pushing her. I don't know. Because if she lived in Nashville, maybe it'd be a little different. Right. But she lived in Massachusetts at the time. I wasn't going to say, hey, you should move here after seeing her one time. Yeah. So those two, Jamie and Renee, they were probably the most important pieces of the puzzle outside of me and Andrea. So they made it happen. And
I was so, I loved getting to go to you guys' wedding. And was that 2023? Is that last year?
That was last November.
Okay.
So a little over a year ago.
A little over a year.
Yep.
So a little over a year marriage. How, for you, was it completely different? Was it like, because you
being married?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Moving in together, I think, is a bigger, I don't know, bigger step, but it's a bigger change.
Okay.
When you're dating someone and then you move in, I think that's more of a shock, more of a, this is the make or break it moment, more so than getting married. Because I knew we were going to get married at least maybe 2 years before we actually got married.
Yeah.
Because I knew I wanted to propose to her a year before I proposed to her.
Why didn't you do it the year before?
That is a good question. Well, so I asked her parents. So we were in her hometown, Massachusetts, in November for Thanksgiving. And this would have been 22. Okay. I asked both of her parents for their blessing to propose to her. Yeah. And then for what I think that might have been, maybe that was the year I tore my bicep. I don't know, must have been a crazy year because it
Right.
took a while. Also picking out a ring, like that's hard for
Yeah.
a guy. That's hard. I don't buy jewelry. I don't know.
I got
So
you.
like,
Okay.
I don't know. It just took a while and you get a little nervous. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is kind of scary. Even though I knew I wanted to do it, I had no doubts that she would say yes, but it's still like a big step and kind of hard and scary.
Yeah.
And then almost a year goes by.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Thanksgiving that I asked her parents for their blessing.
Okay.
And they gave it to me, thankfully.
Yep.
And then we're coming up on the next Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to propose before I
you go back. And
Yes. So that was kind of the deadline.
Yes.
And I ended up proposing the weekend. I think it was a Saturday before
all that.
the next Thanksgiving. So
Okay.
that way we got engaged. And then
Yep.
a few days later, we were able to tell her parents in person.
Yeah.
And then we got married exactly 1 year after that.
Okay.
So got engaged the Saturday before Thanksgiving,
Yep.
or I should say, got the blessing.
Yep.
One Thanksgiving, engaged the next Thanksgiving, and then the wedding was right before
Yeah.
last year's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and I loved it, by the way. Like, because I've been to a fair share of weddings, and it was so seamless. Yeah, y'all just did amazing. The food was on point. The desserts were on point. Everything.
I'll take credit for the
so
food.
good. Yeah.
Only because I had like 2 requests for the wedding. I didn't care what we did. I left it all up to her.
Yeah.
But I said, I don't want to go, I don't want to be cheap on the food. I want good food, a lot of food. I don't want anyone to go hungry because
Yeah.
I've been at weddings where
Oh,
you
yeah.
go hungry and then you drink too much and no one has
Yeah.
a good time. It's bad.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want a lot of food. And then my other request was that she walk down to the Jurassic Park theme song, her aisle.
Yes.
That
Yep.
was those were my 2 things. I said, whatever you want to do after that,
Yeah.
those are my 2 requests. And so everything that you say was like, oh, it was so amazing. All her.
Yeah.
She did all of it.
Oh, for sure, Andrea. I know. Like, I know that was you.
Elaborate on the Jurassic Park thing though, real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, so rather than that's Jurassic Park is my favorite movie. Always has been, always will be. I love the original.
Yeah.
The sequels.
Yeah.
The original Jurassic Park, favorite
course.
movie of all time. That song, that
Yeah.
best song ever. I went to a wedding and someone walked down, and this was 10, 15, I don't know how long,
Yeah.
before I knew Andrea. And I heard that the bride walk down to that song, and I said, if I don't have a bride willing to walk down to that
Then that's
song,
not my
she's
girl.
not my bride.
Yeah.
And so I've always known that's the song I want. And I knew when I was standing at the altar
Yeah.
and we didn't have a big bridal party. I think I came down, Kevin came down with
Yes.
Blue.
Yep.
Her maid of honor came down, and I knew, I was like, as soon as that song hits, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
And I did. As soon the song hit, like a second before they
Yes.
came out, and I lost it. As soon as the first notes hit.
And it was so special. Like, it was like a circle that we were in, kind of like,
Yeah.
like that half circle. And I'd never been to a wedding like that before. And that was so cool. And we all wore black, and that was awesome. And I love that. And
Almost everybody wore black.
y'all thought it was going to be me. And I'm like, Matt, I've already had my dress picked out for months. Like, I am not screwing this up. What? No.
There was we won't use names, but there was one person who did not get the memo on the all black. We didn't notice, so we didn't know. She ended up.
Me, Ricky, and Julianne, right? Kevin's
Yeah.
wife. We knew. They wanted to handle
So
it.
she showed up in a bright pink dress. Everyone, we were all black. It was all black.
Yeah,
Everyone
it
was
was all
all black. She showed up in bright pink. It's my fault. I would take 100% of the blame for it because when we addressed the invitation, so all that information was on the invitation.
Yes.
It said, please wear all black or whatever,
Yes.
We sent the invitation to the boyfriend. So the invitation was to boyfriend +1,
Yeah.
your girlfriend. So it was to both of them, but it was addressed to the boyfriend.
Yeah.
My fault. And I will never make that mistake again. If you're ever inviting a couple to anything,
yeah.
invite the girlfriend or the wife,
Yeah.
not the husband or the boyfriend. So, yeah. But we didn't notice. We didn't
Yeah.
know until dinner.
Right.
And I think you were like sitting at a different table,
Yes.
and we were thinking like, why is Danny at that table?
Yeah.
Whose chair
Yeah,
did
No
I did
shot.
that- I
that
did
she
that
did
at
that.
Logan's
She did
wedding,
that at my
too.
wedding too.
I'm a
I
table
literally looked
hopper.
up and I was like,
So-
Which is total like we didn't care.
we didn't care either. But it's funny that
Well,
so
it's because
funny.
I knew somebody at his wedding that we never thought would cross paths.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
had no idea. And so when I did, I was like, I said, hey, make sure no one's in those seats. And if not, and she was like,
Right.
yeah, Danny, come over here. So then instead of sitting with the older people, thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
I sat with them. So I sat with
and
the strongman
we had
crew.
a pretty small, I think we had 70 people. It was a pretty
Yeah.
small wedding. So like every table, we knew everyone. So with you sitting at that table,
Yeah.
I realized someone's not at that table.
Yeah.
And we're like, who's not here?
Right.
And then that's when we found out
Yep.
that she had left
Yeah.
because she was, which I feel bad. Like I get it, but
Yeah.
I feel so bad. And I've told her many times, like, I
Yeah.
wish she would have stayed. And like,
What
we all laugh
what
about
I don't
it
understand
now.
is we could have just found some like a dude's like
jacket?
she's
Yeah.
small enough that we could have put her suit jacket over her. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
like, but anyway, it worked out for me because I got to sit with strongman people. But
Honestly, I feel bad for her because she left because she was embarrassed.
Yeah.
And she missed a great wedding. But I would have loved if she would have stayed because,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have invited her
Right.
if we didn't love her. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, now it's kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
We joke with them about it. So
Yeah.
it's a good time.
Yep.
I got one more question as
Okay.
we round the bend here. I want to ask you from the coach's perspective. Well, I should ask first. Whenever you got injured at that competition, I'm assuming Matt was your coach, right?
When
or
I did
no?
what?
When you got injured?
When I got at Mammoth or whatever, he was my trainer. And so the thing is that he trained me yes, we did some strongman type, we did more of like deadlift, back squat, we did some like Zercher carries, like stuff like that, but Blake was still my like strongman coach.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, what I was going to ask you, it may not be as applicable in that case, but basically what I was going to say is in that situation, because I guess maybe it could happen in other situations too, especially with the sport that has such a high injury rate. But what is that like for you on the outside looking at one of your athletes that goes through?
somebody for strongman?
No, like whenever you go have an athlete that goes through an injury. So
Like he's saying after I got injured.
Sure. So, I mean, people get hurt all the time. And like I always tell people, we can be strong and get hurt sometimes, or you can be out of shape and weak and probably get hurt even more. Like
Yeah.
small injuries are just going to happen when you work out all the
Yeah.
time. But it's part of life. Not even just part of working out, but just part of life.
For sure.
I'm not a doctor.
Yeah.
I will give you references like go see this girl,
Yeah.
have her look at you. She'll tell me what's going on. Well, but for the most part, I'm like, let's work around it.
Yeah.
What can we do? You got a bad hamstring? Great. Let's do some heel elevated goblet squats and like focus on quads and stay away from hinging. Like,
Yeah.
I don't try to fix anyone's injury. I don't
Right.
try to diagnose anyone's injury.
Right.
That's not I got to stay in my
Expertise.
lane. That's not
Yeah.
my expertise. And I know a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm not here to diagnose or treat. Let's work around. You tell me, is it that bad that we can't do
Right.
anything on that leg or that arm or whatever it might be? Otherwise, like, go see them.
Right.
But like, your whole body's not injured. We can do something.
Right.
We can find something to do.
Yeah.
So, it's just part of it. But I think that is one thing I've learned as I've become more experienced with training is to not try to know everything, not
Right.
try to fix everything.
Yeah, same.
And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about like doubling down on people's strengths.
Yeah.
Let's find what we can do and go hard on it.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I feel the exact same way when it comes to my clients. And so I do want to say, as we're kind of closing out, with all of this, like, I have just been so thankful for you and everything. And I've watched, your business grow. We've watched, seen how Dandy Fitness has grown, everything like that. I want to know what was your first impression of me when you started, I guess, training with me or maybe Strongman or whatever you want to say. And also, what is something that you love about your body? Because I got to ask.
I got to think of that one. I got to think about.
Okay.
But my first impression of you is my current impression of you. I've never met anybody like you. Yeah. Not even close. Like if I had to think of the closest person, like who's similar to Danny, I can't even. You're just one of a kind. Like I don't know anyone like you. I don't know anyone who works as much as you do, like as hard as you do. But also like you're never in a bad mood. You've got this like crazy energy all the time. Yeah. And I don't know. There's just nobody. There's so many times like we're watching a movie or something comes up and it's like oh, that's a Dani, like, that's a Dani thing. Like, no, but there's no one else that I can relate that to. And it's hard to like really pinpoint what it is, but it's just such a uniqueness about you.
Well,
But yeah, but first impression, that was it. I was like, this girl, like, she is something else. Like, but no, that's why we love you, because you're Dani D, and nobody else is.
Well, thanks, Matt. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so then what about when it comes to loving your body? Because I ask this all the time.
I should have known that question was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, the easy answer is like what I'm able to do physically.
Yes.
But for me, it's not about like how much I can lift or what I can accomplish in the gym or even in my sport, a strongman. Like, dude, I take so much pride in maintaining our house and my yard.
Yes.
And like, there's so much, my focus has shifted so much in the past 3-4 years, like, especially now that I own a home and I'm thinking about like starting a family, like that's our next step. That I love that I'm able to provide. Like, there's nothing, I feel like there's nothing that I can't do physically.
No limits,
Right. And like, when I think about having a kid, hopefully soon, like that, it gets me so excited for my kid to watch me not only work out, but like do stuff with my hands. Like I grew up watching my dad build stuff, and I'm not a carpenter like my dad was, but like, I think I'm kind of handy. Like, I want to teach my kid. I try to teach Andrea stuff all the time. And sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't, as we all know when we're in relationships. But like, I just, I honestly just feel like there's nothing that I can't do physically. Like, I don't know. I just love working. I love doing
feeling capable,
stuff.
strong.
Capable with, and just accomplishing
I love that.
day-to-day tasks with my body.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great answer. And that's what it's all about. You know what I mean? Because again, it's feeling empowered, feeling capable, feeling strong. That's what fitness is. That's what movement is. It's not just about aesthetics. It's not just about, if you have that PR deadlift or whatever it is. And it is something that I cherish so much with every injury, with everything that has happened. It's like that drive to still fight for what you want, to still get things done, to still move, to still go out, to still train. And even when you had the bicep, you were still unloading the van, training me and training, you know what I mean?
One arm.
Yeah, with one arm, exactly.
One arm in a sling and one arm,
Exactly. And that's so great. And I mean, it's like, because again, it just shows that you can do those things. You could have given up, you could have, gone a different direction or whatever, but you didn't. And that's why I've always said that you're just so consistent and so, amazing. And I'm forever grateful that Ryan Freebring basically told me I'm competing in the National Fit Games because I was the number one, like he had signed up and whatever. But for him making that happen, but also for me talking to him and having that partnership with NFM, but then seeing you there, literally, I will just never forget. Like I said, I felt so alone at that competition, and I think even my dad came and like kind of surprised me or whatever, but he was there. But I just remember seeing like all the certain type of people in Nashville, and I wasn't in Nashville yet. I trained out of Franklin, and I drove from Murfreesboro every day and all that. And I saw that group of people, and I think they were all going to go like party afterwards or do something, and I didn't feel like I was able to go do that with them. And seeing you and you just being so kind, it was the first time that I felt safe, being able to talk to somebody, work with somebody, and that literally set the trajectory that, it has only helped Dani Fitness. You were the person that was like, Dani, like, you're just so plain about stuff. You're like, yeah, just come to Nashville. I think your market will be better in Nashville. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to hang on to the Franklin. And you were like, you literally, and I would drive to Nashville and then I was doing Nashville and Franklin, and you're like, just give it up. Yep. And literally COVID happened. And I was like, yeah, Matt, you're right. And as soon as I started training and giving my all in Nashville, it was, that was another pivotal point that changed things. So it's just, you've always been kind of that I don't want to say voice of reason, but that like plain, like to be like, hey, stop the nonsense, like just do, you know? and I need that, and I think everyone needs that person. But like I said, I had went to so many classes, so many places that no one ever looked at me as strong, even said the word athletic, and you did, and there was no. There's just no nonsense that you hear with other like male trainers, right? Too. So there was none of that. It was just like, it was like I got, it was like I got a brother. And so to go to that and then watch you and Andrea, and to watch you get married, and to watch you have us home, and us talk about, savings, all the, just different, life stuff. It has just been incredible. And we could talk for hours more. And like I said, we don't get to see each other often, but when we do, it means the world. And I just thank you so much for everything that you've done for me, and that you do for, everybody that's ever known you. And I just love you so much. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Dani.
No, of course. Well, until next time.